Thanks, Erin. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Heather Greer Klein. I'm the community manager for the Samvera community. I'm going to keep my camera off today because I'm on Wi-Fi and I don't want to take the risk. But I just have a short presentation today, just a short update. I'll do a little bit of a Samvera overview as part of that, just in case there are folks who aren't familiar with the community and the technologies. I'll share the latest on all of our technologies and also give a couple of community updates. So first, what's Samvera? If you haven't heard of us or you've heard of us and you're not quite sure what it is, Samvera is a community. It's a community of people who use and grow a set of open source repository components and platforms and other software. So you can't install Samvera because Samvera is the people, but you can install any of the components or the platforms that this community uses and supports. We all work together so that we can do things to meet our evolving and shared needs. So lots of different types of organizations are part of the community, different institutions with different kinds of resources and different missions and from all over the world. And these organizations sort of work together to find what needs we have in common and build infrastructure for those needs together. The technology is designed to be really flexible, adaptable to specific collections and workflows. So you'll see that Samvera's platforms could be hosted by a service provider or hosted locally. You can put in cultural heritage materials or research data, really depends on your use case. And the software that we support, here's some of our logos. We have core system components, and then we have different repository platforms. So I'll talk a little bit about those next and give folks the latest news from our communities, our technology communities. First, this is how I've been illustrating Samvera components and how they stack together. Not a real technical diagram, just to give you a general idea of how things work together. All of our components sort of stack together and then also integrate with custom components or with other open source components. We're very dependent on other open source communities such as Fedora. We're all very interconnected. And when you think of Samvera technology, the repository you might be the most familiar with is the Hyrax software engine. It's built on Ruby on Rails. It can be used to create a repository for discovery, access, and management of all kinds of digital collections. And the focus for Hyrax over the last 3 years in the community has been on integrating Valkyrie into the data store layer for Hyrax out of the box. So you may have heard of Valkyrie. What in the world is Valkyrie? And why is it so important? And why have we spent so much time on it in the community? So at the base of our repository component stack is the data store layer. And Valkyrie is a data mapper. It's used with those data stores. It enables multiple backends for the storage of files and metadata in Samvera repository systems. So once it's completely integrated, Valkyrie just goes along with the tradition of Samvera software being very flexible so that institutions and organizations can choose their backend system. So that might be Fedora 6 or it might be Postgres. And this is also going to greatly simplify our code in Hyrax. So up to the minute news in Hyrax technical developments, we've had many community sprints. We've had work from Princeton, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, lots and lots of different community members, plus a pledge drive that we did to pay for contractors to push us through this last bit of Valkyrization work. So Hyrax 5.0.0 release candidate 1 was in testing last week. There's still some outstanding file versioning work that's being done. And the goal right now for the community is a stable release of Hyrax 5 by Samvera Connect, which is our conference coming up at the end of October. So that's a big, that's a big deal. That's a place we've wanted to reach for some time, but it is by no means the end. Migration paths will be the next big thing. So figuring out how to migrate an existing Hyrax onto Hyrax 5, helping come up with use cases and helping institutions make decisions about how they want to handle that back end. And that's where the Fedora 6 working group comes in. So the first meeting of the working group is September 25th. It's going to be planning and scheduling and figuring out how to do the work needed to build off of the existing Postgres adapter work that is part of Hyrax 5 and part of that release candidate, and how to build from that work to quickly get a Fedora 6 adapter in place. There's going to be migration testing and tooling. And there was some great conversation about this at the Samvera Europe meeting that I attended yesterday, which luckily Dan Fields was there, because we were talking about, as a community, there will be people who will just go to Postgres or just to Fedora 6, but there may be lots of use cases where you may want to include both. So it's an exciting time for the Hyrax community. So moving on to Haiku. So Haiku is built on top of Hyrax. Excuse me. It comes with all of the features of Hyrax, but Haiku is multi-tenant. So you can have a single repository manager with Haiku. So a consortia or a service provider can run Haiku. And each Haiku instance can have its own metadata and its own workflows and branding. The latest in Haiku world, Valkyrization, because it's built on top of Hyrax, it's the same impact, the same kind of energy is being put towards that work for Haiku. There's still some Rails and Bootstrap upgrades that need to come into Haiku from Hyrax 4. That release is probably soonish, so I can't say for sure, but I'm expecting before Samvera Connect we'll have another Haiku release. There's training happening now from the soft serve service provider, and it's using the Haiku main branch. And next up, there's going to be some Haiku specific Valkyrization work that will hopefully be finished by the end of the year. And I don't want to forget to mention Avalon. Avalon Media Systems, a platform for managing and providing access to large collections of digital audio and video. It's got transcoding and very specific access control, and it's actually the oldest of our platforms in the Samvera community. And they've been doing some really cool stuff this year. There's great new features. They've got controlled digital lending. They've made performance improvements and added some Unicode support. So there's a lot of good stuff happening in the Avalon community. I always want to just mention our core components in the stack. The Samvera community, in addition to the platforms, we've just got a lot of pieces of components for repositories that may or may not be important depending on the use case. And I want to spotlight the work that we have that's within the IIIF framework. So that's a set of open standards for delivering high quality and attributed digital objects online at scale. And Samvera Technologies integrate IIIF into our platforms and as part of individual components. And the serverless IIIF 5.0 just got released last week. So lots of activity in this area of components. And finally, just a few things to say about the community, things happening right now. So I mentioned Samvera Connect 2023. It's coming up in Philadelphia. It'll be our first in-person conference in 4 years. It'll be October 22nd to the 26th. There's still early bird tickets through September 23rd. And the lightning talk and posters are open through the end of this week. So if you've been considering contributing or attending, please do. We're going to have workshops, a plenary day, some session days, and a developers congress. And if you can't join us in person, we have Samvera Virtual Connect. It's completely free and completely online. And we do that every, I think it's going to stay in the first week in May every year. And you can see all of the past sessions on our YouTube channel. So lastly, to mention our interest in working groups. New and occasional attendees are always welcome in our interest in working groups, especially the interest groups. That can be a great way to just hear the latest on the different technologies and things that are going on. We also have a group for repository managers and one for metadata librarians and others interested in metadata. Really cool stuff happening in that interest group. And we have coming soon, we're going to have a new interest group that is just for those who manage development teams. And I want to emphasize that you don't have to be a Samvera development team manager to join this group. I think this will be a really good group for anyone in any of the related open source communities that we touch with Samvera, including Fedora. So I'll make sure to share that information with Erin as that group starts to come together, because from what I've heard from talking to folks who are trying to make this group happen, it's really hard to manage teams of developers, and it would be really nice to be able to learn from each other. Especially there are so many institutions where there may only be one manager of developers. So I'm really excited about that. And our outreach and engagement group's been doing a lot of work over the summer. We're changing our website bit by bit. We have a new motto or tagline for the community, growing open technologies together. And next up, we're trying to put together some more general information about open source support, choosing between different technologies and making a business case for open. So we have some other broad ideas on the horizon. There's lots of ways to stay connected to the community. I would say our Slack workspace is number one if you're at all interested. We have email lists, and we have weekly tech calls, and all of our community information is in our Confluence wiki, and we have a community calendar there as well. So I've shared those slides with Erin. I've got a link there to our Getting Started section of our wiki. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I'll be on vacation for another week, but afterwards, I'm happy to chat with anyone. And yeah, thanks very much, Erin, for asking me to give this update. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Heather. Yes, we have a few minutes for questions, so if anybody has anything, we're more than happy to take those now.